Bucs Nation. This is where we find out what we're really made of. 1 week you're flying high at 3-0. The next you get punched in the mouth by the defending champs. But this loss? It's not the end. It's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that greatness isn't built in comfort. It's built in struggle. And today, we've got 3 stories that show both the pain and the pride of being a Buccaneer. The Eagles game wasn't just another matchup on the schedule. It was a lesson. A harsh reminder that even when you're unbeaten, cracks can show and mistakes can hurt. But at the same time, it gave us moments that prove this team is still built to fight, built to respond, and built to last. Let's start with the first story, one that shows exactly why Tampa Bay's standard is higher than most. And it comes from a name that's been floating around ever since he left, Shiloh Sanders. Remember how he left Tampa on bad terms? How Todd Bowles and this coaching staff were left disappointed by his actions, not just his play. Well, now the league is giving him a reality check too. First, the 49ers brought him in for a workout. He got his shot, he had his chance, and they said no. Not good enough. Not worth the risk. That makes 2 NFL teams now. 2 teams that looked him in the eye and decided they'd rather move forward without him. And that's the lesson here, Bucs Nation. Talent gets you noticed, but character? That's what keeps you in this league. That's what builds champions. And it's exactly why Tampa Bay made the tough call to move on. This organization demands more than highlights. It demands discipline, accountability, and heart. So while Shiloh's future is slipping away, the Bucs are proving something else. The standard here is real. And if you don't meet it, you don't last. But let me throw it to you, Bucs fans. Do you think Tampa made the right call cutting ties with Shiloh Sanders? Or do you believe he still deserves another shot in the NFL? Drop your take in the comments. I want to see where you stand. You can't throw punches in the NFL. That's not just a mistake. That's a death sentence for your career. And Shiloh Sanders learned that lesson the hard way. 1 split second of poor judgment, 1 punch, and it cost him millions. Todd Bowles said it right after the game. Character matters just as much as talent. And now Shiloh is paying the price. Instead of lining up for a contender, he's hanging on to just 3 possible landing spots: the Bears, the Bills, and the Steelers. Not because they want him, but because they're desperate for depth. These aren't opportunities earned, they're last chances. Think about this. Shiloh signed a 3-year deal worth nearly $3 million. But when Tampa cut him loose, all he walked away with was about $1.2 million guaranteed, plus a fine of almost $5,000 for that punch. He didn't just lose money. He lost trust, respect, and the one thing every NFL player needs: belief from his team. Even his father, Deion Sanders, seems to know the truth. Posting cryptic messages online. Taking meetings with agents in California about sitcoms, movies, YouTube content. That's not hype. That's a Hall of Fame dad realizing his son's NFL dream might already be slipping away. And this is where Tampa Bay shows the difference. Other teams might gamble on raw ability. But the Bucs? They demand more. They demand professionalism. They demand accountability. That's what separates us. And speaking of standards, even in a brutal loss, we witness something historic. Something that proves this organization develops excellence even in the hardest moments. Because when the offense stalled, when the scoreboard looked ugly, Chase McLaughlin stepped up and made history. From 65 yards out, with pressure, with the half running out, McLaughlin drilled a bomb. Not just good. Cleared with room to spare. That kick wasn't just 3 points, it was the longest field goal in Buccaneers history. He shattered the old mark of 62 yards from Matt Bryant back in 2006. And here's the kicker. His previous career long was only 57. He didn't just break a record, he blew past his own limits. That moment mattered. Because when everything else was falling apart, when the Eagles' defense suffocated our offense, McLaughlin was the one putting points on the board. Every single first half point came from him. He gave the Bucs life when they had no rhythm. That's what championship organizations do. They develop players who rise when it matters most. McLaughlin's 65-yard rocket wasn't just history. It was proof that this team still has the heart, still has the grit, and still has guys who can deliver when the lights are brightest. So let me ask you, Bucs fans, was McLaughlin's 65-yard record breaker the moment that saved this game from being a total disaster? Or do you see it as just a highlight and a painful loss? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear how you felt when that kick sailed through the uprights. That 65-yard bomb wasn't just 3 points, it was a statement. A reminder that this organization produces players who rise when the lights are brightest. While other teams crack under pressure, the Buccaneers have guys who step up and make history. That kick will be remembered long after this game is forgotten. But let's get real, Bucs Nation. The Eagles game wasn't just about one historic kick. It was a brutal test, the kind of game that reveals who you really are. And for Tampa Bay, it was a mix of painful mistakes and inspiring fight. Here's the truth. The game started like a nightmare. The Bucs dug themselves into a 21-point hole in the first half. How? Special teams. Once again, they broke our hearts. A blocked punt, the second of the year, handed the Eagles a touchdown on a silver platter. And if that wasn't enough, Riley Dixon unleashed one of the worst punts you'll ever see. Just 18 yards. 18. That gift-wrapped another Philly touchdown. Just like that, we were staring down a blowout. But here's the difference between championship-caliber teams and pretenders. Fight. The Bucs didn't fold. They didn't wave the white flag. They clawed back, scratch by scratch, play by play, until they cut the deficit all the way down to 8 points in the fourth quarter. And in those moments, we saw flashes of something special. Baker Mayfield refused to quit. And his connection with rookie wideout Emeka Egbuka? Electric. They lit up the Eagles' defense with 2 massive plays, a 77-yard strike on the run, and a 72-yard explosion for another touchdown. That's not just good football. That's a quarterback and a rookie showing the kind of chemistry that could define the future of this offense. Even in defeat, those plays mattered. They proved Tampa Bay has weapons who can turn games around in an instant. They proved Baker still has that fire, that grit, that ability to make something out of nothing. And they proved Egbuka isn't just another rookie. He's a future star who can carry this team when the moment demands it. Yes, the loss exposed issues. Special teams are a problem. The offensive line depth is shaky. And when you play the defending NFC champs, every weakness gets magnified. But the positives are undeniable. McLaughlin made history. Egbuka showed he's ready to be a weapon. And the Buccaneers proved they won't back down, even when the scoreboard looks ugly. This wasn't the ending we wanted. But it was a reminder. This team isn't defined by one loss. It's defined by how it fights, how it responds, and how it keeps building towards something greater. Bucs Nation, what stood out to you more? The costly mistakes that dug the hole, or the resilience that nearly pulled us out of it? Was this a wake-up call, or proof this team is built to last? Drop your take in the comments. Let's see where the fan base stands. Now the road doesn't get any easier. The Buccaneers are heading to Seattle to face the Seahawks in one of the loudest, most hostile stadiums in the NFL. But here's the key. They're going into that game at 3-1, and that's still a strong start to any season. This Eagles loss wasn't the end of the world. It was a classroom. It was a crash course in what separates good teams from great ones. And the Bucs walked out of it with lessons that could define the rest of their season. Think about it. We saw what happens when players walk away from Tampa Bay's standard of discipline. They fail. We saw what happens when individuals rise above chaos. History is made, like Chase McLaughlin's record-breaking 65-yarder. And we saw what happens when a team refuses to quit. Even down by 21, they fought until the last whistle. That's what matters. That's how championship cultures are built. Not by avoiding setbacks, but by using every stumble as fuel. By turning mistakes into motivation. By demanding better every single week. So here's the question for Bucs Nation. When you combine character, excellence, and resilience, what do you get? You get a culture that can survive the toughest losses and come back stronger. You get a team that doesn't just chase wins, it builds something lasting. The Bucs are 3-1. They're in first place. And now comes the real test. Can they take the fire from this loss and unleash it on the Seahawks? Bucs Nation, I want to hear from you. What's the biggest lesson you think this team should take from the Eagles game? Is it special teams, offensive line depth, or the need to start faster? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get the debate going.